Hello, this is Nick here from Vegans Be the Change, and this is our weekly vegan news roundup on Sunday, the 8th of December. The biggest story this week, without a doubt, was the absolutely revolting, appalling events in Nepal. It was the Gadhimai Hindi Festival, 200 kilometres south of Kathmandu, and it came at the end of a month-long mela, and some 3,500 buffalo was ritually slaughtered there, apparently for religious beliefs that it brings good luck. Oh dear. Humane Society International and Animal Equality were there to document what was going on. There are even cases reported of sexual abuse on some of these creatures. Absolutely scandalous. The only thing really that's a good trend is the fact that this 265-year-old festival only happens every 4 years. It's getting a lot smaller now. In 2009, there were some 500,000, 500,000 buffaloes and goats and pigeons and all sorts of animals were slaughtered. 5 years ago, in 2014, it was 30,000, and now it's down to 3,500. So hopefully in 5 years' time, it won't happen again. It went ahead even though Nepali law had outlawed it, and the local temple had said that it shouldn't happen. Anyway, people ignored it. And it was the most barbaric, horrible thing that I've seen since, one of the most horrible things since I've been monitoring vegan news. Anyhow, hopefully that's a thing of the past. Some good news is Bid Foods in Australia have announced that they provide 150 million eggs a year to the Australian food services industry, restaurants, hotels and so on, and that they're phasing out caged battery eggs. It's going to take them a few years till 2025, substantially done by 2023, but it's phasing it out. And it's a small step, but it's a positive step for the future. In terms of the activism that we've been seeing in the last week, PETA announced its Person of the Year, and it went to Joaquin Phoenix, and that's hardly a surprise. The guy is amazing. He's here, there, and everywhere. He hardly gets an opportunity to go by without being an advocate for animals, and he's done a great deal this year. So that was a well-deserved recognition for him. Veganuary is coming up soon. Veganuary, I hope you pronounce it. It's coming up soon. Lots of people hopefully will be taking the 30-day pledge. The company have been crowdfunding money, and they plan to have a whole load of TV advertising. They prepared some fairly slick ads that have been prepared in multilingual by some creatives who have given their time for free. So we should be seeing some TV advertisements for proposing that people go vegan in January. So that should be something to look forward to. They'll be coming out between Christmas and New Year. In the States, there was a campaign which offered the President of the United States $1 million if he'd go vegan for 30 days in January, and they'd donate $1 million to a veterans charity. I don't think there's much chance of that happening. But there's a lot of interesting doctors in the videos promoting this, really coming up with some very, very interesting statements. For example, Dr. Joel Kahn was really calling for some leadership in this, and talking about the wicked food industry and the lobbies and the subsidies, and how everything needed to be turned on its head. So that one day soon it would cost $1 for a salad and $12 for a burger. But the whole thing needs to change and shift around from top to bottom, and that there needs to be leadership on this. Dr. Michael Greger, he pointed out the US health system is going bankrupt, and people are arguing about who's going to pay for these expensive pills and procedures. So it's a very interesting campaign. There's a lot of real credibility behind it. I do think that a President of the United States could take a lead and feel that change inside his or her body, but I suspect we're going to have to wait for another incumbent of the office, to be perfectly honest. Current president's rather fond of his fast foods, by all accounts. There's an interesting bit of activism at Cambridge University. The students at Hughes Hall took great exception to seeing a 17th century painting by Franz Snyders, which was called The Fowl Market, and there's just pictures of dead animals in the dining room. So they didn't particularly fancy looking at that while they're eating their meals, and the college authorities understood what they were talking about. Painting's been removed and it's been taken back to the Fitzwilliam Museum, and it's currently on there's an exhibition called it's about food, 15th century onwards. It's called Eat, Feast, Fast, and even the blurb about the exhibition talks about these issues of animals and vegetarianism and veganism have been discussed since the 1500s. It might be over-egging the pudding a little bit, but certainly it's an interesting exhibition anyway. And it certainly does say that this consciousness about what it is we put inside our bodies isn't new, even though the tide is changing and things are really beginning to turn. Obviously, meat has been a very important part of people's diets for so long, but the exhibition does rather imply that these issues have been considered for rather a long time. I'm not sure how true that is, but it's a nice idea. The Guinness Book of World Records have started looking at veganism. I think maybe it's in the aftermath of the Game Changers documentary, and they've come out with a blog post about 11 athletes who've achieved world records primarily on a plant-based diet, and one of those 11 was Serena and Venus Williams. They were paired together. 5 of the people in that list of 11 were actually featured in the film, amazingly enough, but I think the one that caught the eye was Serena and Venus. They've been so dominant. Serena in particular has been so dominant in women's tennis, though it does seem as though they're both plant-based while they're in training, and when they're really looking for that serious competitive edge. But I don't get the impression they're total full-on vegans. Venus Williams had an autoimmune disease diagnosed a while ago, and she actually went into a fairly radical raw food diet, which really helped her physically and helped her get back into athletic condition. And Venus's record speaks for itself. So, it's a really interesting plug for what one can achieve as an elite sportsman or sportswoman as a vegan. And I think finally, we wrote a piece during this week about how Starbucks is still charging a vegan surcharge for vegan plant milk, and it really is about time they stopped doing that. That's not unique to this week, but it was just something which we focused on in our writing. So that's a roundup for the news stories for this week. I'll put links to each of the stories below, and if you have any comments, please do let us know. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.